Hello and welcome to Analyst Hangout. I am Perpetua Fasomi Peter. It's a beautiful Friday and it's the first Friday in the year 2023. I'm not alone today. I'm joined by Ambrose Omodio, the Chief Research Officer at Invest Data Consulting. He's right here with me. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, Perpetua.
All right, I also have right here Charles Fakroha, a stockbroker and iBrandTV Senior Business Analyst. Thanks for joining us today.
It's a pleasure being here.
Yeah. Well, virtually we'll be joined by Oladipo Ajayi, the head, Fixed Income, Chapel Hill, Denham. We'll also be joined by Vincent Oshoma, the head, Capital Market Interstate Securities Limited. But we'll start with the stock market review. The market witnessed its first loss on Thursday since the beginning of the new year and ended its 13-day winning streak as the all-share index shed 1.53% to close at 50,868.52 points. Investors of Airtel Africa PLC recorded a loss of about 507 billion naira at the end of Thursday's trading session as domestic bourse surrendered to selling pressure. However, by the close of Friday's session, the benchmark all-share index gained 0.7%, adding 353.82 points to close at 51,222.34. Now that's what it is. I'm delighted to have Ambrose and Charles right here with me in the studio. So I'd like to start with you, Ambrose. Talk to us about the activities in the markets today and what happened to Airtel. Maybe you start with
actually, I would say that
activities.
the first trading week for the year 2023 is a good one for the market.
Okay.
We saw like it's 13 days up market straight before we saw pullback yesterday for Airtel. Tells you that for a market to be off for straight 13 days, it tell you the momentum that is behind the market, the kind of energy behind the market. For me, investors are still repositioning their portfolio ahead of all the earnings season, looking at the dividend yield. But for Airtel is one of the high cap stock. Also, Airtel has March as year end. Now, investors are looking at to see their Q3 number any moment from now, knowing that they had the opportunity to release it this month of January. And what we saw yesterday was just a profit taken in the stock. It has dropped as low as 1,400, coming back to 1,680. That 280 is also a profit like almost 15 to 14% for that investor in this market. Like I always say in this program, that you should learn how to take profit. And when I said that, I was not panicking. I say, why are you panicking? Market are rally for most. I think they seen a pool there for just all of you are calling me. Is the bull? I say no. Why? Because people know what they are doing in the market. But I also believe that now that we saw a correction, today we saw that people also took advantage of that low price of Airtel yesterday, so that supported the market to gain 0.7. Tell you that investors are becoming so savvy and also so intelligent to know what to do now, and that is what we need in this market. Because when you are investing with knowledge, you don't jump into the wrong stock at the wrong time. You know your position at the right time. Also knowing that, I say here that price and time is key in equity investment, no matter who you are. If you don't time it well and also price is not at your favor, you are not in the market. You look at the price and look at the time so that you can take advantage of it. Yes, we have seen like kind of a decline in the bond market. For example, look at the savings bond for the month of December, and the one latest in the on Monday, January, for January. We saw there's a decline in yield, for those bond. The angle of the Treasury B for straight trade, option. I see that that's going to decline to even to below 10% for what for 264 days. And we are seeing that investors and if they in equity market, so must giving you 12% yield, 13% yield for just less than 4 months for you to take that. Actually, we are still seeing fund entering the equity space. Another good thing that I want to look at, there's what we call a trend in equity investment. Trend is very, very key. No matter where. That's why we saw also Santa Cruz Larry. This is a repeat of what of a flow of a trend. That was saw December market. Also, now we have seen that in the last 25 years, also in the month of February, where is the election year for Nigeria, apart from postponing it, we saw that in 2015 was postponed, in 2019 was also postponed. But what means that in the month of February, when there's election, there's always a missed activity there. But you see market running up to that election week before that's going down. Immediately also, if it's a winner announced, you see also market going up. But the good thing that there's a difference between all the trend we have seen to what is happening now. Before, we have seen that the incumbent or the same party has been there for almost, I think, 2017, it changed. 2015, it changed. They're doing that to continue. But this time, I was seeing that this is the first time we are seeing 3 or 4 graduates in this presidential thing. That's what giving us another cycle. But the good thing is that all of them are pro-market. That whoever that comes on board was expecting the market to come out this trend. But the good thing is that let investors monitor trend is very, very key. For me, I'll say that the market is still looking at up and going where it's going. Investors should not panic, but don't forget to take profit. I'll still hammer with us. Even though you are made 25%, it's something because you have still some instrument for a whole year. I don't make it up to 25%. In less than 3 months, 4 months, making 25%, you're good to go.
Okay, just to add to
Yeah.
what Ambrose have said, even the so-called Airtel rebound today again, did about 3%.
Yeah.
Again, so it was just basically profit taking.
Yeah.
And of course, as more people wanted to get in the low price, the price also went up. Yes, I agree with you. You said you need to time the market, but again, you know, in timing the market, you have to be very careful also. You must be in touch with your stockbroker. If you are a retail investor, of course, all the portfolio managers, they have all the resources. They have all the experts that they can talk to them on a daily basis. I mean, I have traded my company's proprietary trade. Even as a trader, there is a committee that will sit down, discuss, look at this trade they're talking about, both technical, fundamental, and then say, okay, trader, this is what we're likely to do. Yes, it's good to enter the market with knowledge. But my concern now is investors that are long term. Yes, you don't want that in and out because you don't want to be paying Charles. Each time you come in, you pay me. Each time you go out, you pay me. So,
but I would like us to really talk about this thing. What's there for the long-term players? He has talked about, you know, how that he prefers, you know, the cycle going.
Even within brokers, we have those who are day traders. They buy in the morning, and before close of market, they
yes,
exit.
I'm interested. You know, he has made his own point abundantly clear. Everybody knows where he stands. You know, so now talk to us for people who are there for the long haul. What's in it? I mean, what's the benefit?
That is the kind of people we call investors.
Okay, so what's the benefit?
One, psychologically. Somebody says, my father worked 35 years in UAC, and maybe he or she is also working there. You just have this love for this. It's emotional.
Yes, I like that.
It's emotional.
So
they want to see the. They don't want to even sell.
Let's say there is more to it apart
we
from
have
the
investors
emotions.
that they want, they have not sold.
Exactly.
They just keep buying and buying. And like he said, once they are getting their dividend, you know, constantly, maybe annually as the case may be, or quarterly.
But what happens to capital
semi-annually.
appreciation or depreciation in this case?
He is not so much interested in that, except when probably he has a big project.
I want to believe that
people
who are like that probably have invested so much that it doesn't really matter to them. The dividend is more than enough for something.
I agree with that, the dividend, but at the same time, like I said, it's emotional. It's emotional. Somebody worked in First Bank 35 years and he has all investment in First Bank, and there is no need for him to raise fund. He will not want to sell. He will continue to just. We have investors like that. They just say keep buying. At times they even tell you use their dividend to even buy more for them because they are waiting.
So at the end of the day, what's the game?
And they can plan.
Okay, the
dividend, the things that come from their dividend, it can enable them plan for the year. Some persons can take dividend, and for the rest of the year they will not need to work. So such a person,
I mean, yes, we know that.
they are not ready to do this in and out.
Yeah.
However, my advice will be, if you want to do the in and out, please get close to your stockbroker so that both of you can agree. Because there are times you get in, of course, maybe if you are attending Ambrose classes very well and you have mastered, there is no way you can master the market 100%. Even seasoned traders, once in a while, the market will even deal with you.
Yes, we agree with that.
So you just have to be careful. Of course, it's not 100% foolproof, but it's good to take the chance. Because, I mean, it doesn't make sense if within the last 4 months you have seen capital appreciation. Why would you want to hold that stock?
Oh, okay. You put us back there. All right, Victor, thanks for joining us.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon. Good to have you join us today.
It's my pleasure.
All right, I'd like you to speak to the conversation. I believe you heard Ambrose and Charles. Very quickly, talk to us about the market during the week.
Yeah, the market, it was quite interesting during the week. It continued from that last week. We saw it ended the year, not just last week, ended the year. We know the market closed high. And it was against the expectation to some extent when you look at the performance of the market. Although, thank God for the rally we saw in the later end of the year after the bearish trend we saw last year. And from the first trading day started on a bullish, a positive note, aside from the yesterday when we saw a loss in the market. And like Mr. Charles mentioned, it continued today. We also saw the market regain today. So that's good for the market and it's good for investors, especially in this year. This year is quite an interesting year because of the political uncertainty that is usually associated with election season. But like Mr. Ambrose mentioned, the fact that that we are having a different kind of election. We have candidates, presidential candidates that everybody would quite agree that are pro-market. I think it kind of changed the dynamics in this election year, and I think it kind of will impact the sentiment, the investment sentiment of investors, which is good for our market. So unlike what we usually see when there is always that uncertainty, high political risk, I think there is the political risk that we are seeing this year. I think it will be quite lower than what we usually see, especially in 2015 election. So I think it's positive for the market. Despite the challenges we are seeing in the market, I think the fact that we are going to be having a new president, and also we are definitely going to be having a more pro-market president, I think will definitely affect investor sentiment, which is good for our market.
All right, Victor, very quickly, the president has just signed the 2023 budget into law, and analysts have expressed dissatisfaction over the budget deficit. How is the market reacting to this?
We have not really seen the reaction from the market in terms of the budget that have been passed, because usually when there is a budget is passed, especially when the budget is signed, we usually see positive reaction in the market, because now we know the government spending, the areas where the government will be spending. But unlike previous experience, we are not seeing that kind of reaction. I think it has to do with people's expectation in terms of the budget. When you see the high deficit of the budget, the only thing that we can also talk about in the market in terms of the budget, the fact that the government is coming to the market for to fund the deficit, more borrowings. But you and I know that more borrowings for the government affects the fiscal ability of the government. We talked about the impact on it will have on government expenditure revenue, and also the impact is going to have on inflation, because we are seeing more money in the system. So I think that kind of temper with the expectation when it comes to this budget. And also considering the fact that this budget is coming with an administration that is winding down, and a lot of persons, I think, will be expecting a new budget once we have a new administration. In terms of the implementation of this budget, I think I don't see much implementation except for the expenditure, where the part that have to do with some of the government activities. But I don't see much as in terms of implementation. When we talk about the deficit, how soon are they going to be able to raise the money to fund the budget? And also, once we have a new administration by May 29, I think the new administration will also be thinking of bringing in a new budget, and also trying to vary this budget in terms of the focus of the new administration. I think those are some of the things that people will be looking at, and will not really see much impact with respect to the budget that has been signed.
All right, thank you so much. Very quickly, let's have your thought, Charles.
Well, the budget has come, and we are looking at one of the DG budgets, with due respect to him, that said we are looking at this government budget in just one aspect, and people have said that it's just government expenditure. We're not looking at government revenue. That's a budget. It's expenditure and revenue. Yes, the government has told us this is what they want to spend. I think it's about 21 trillion or thereabouts.
Yes.
And
isn't almost 11 trillion from
deficit is there. Now, but he is now saying he wants to, this ways and means, he wants to kind
securitization of the ways and means.
Our president has become a financial engineer.
Saying that if we do not do it, we'll have about 1.8 trillion naira interest payment.
Yes, but like my colleague have just said, we need to look at the impact of the markets. Yes, experts are now looking at, okay, because of the deficit, we will see government through DMO coming to raise this bond to kind of. But for me, I don't see the government able to raise that amount of money from this domestic market. I don't see that. They will not be able, because if government does that, they are already crowding out corporate bonds, because people want to say, okay, let me, instead of investing in debt, that is a corporate bond, let me invest in government bond. So, and the DMO being that government agency that is to monitor, regulate government borrowings and all that, will not even want that to happen. So we are in a situation where the government will still need to go out, whether we like it or not. We must still have some external borrowing. And of course, yes, the ones the markets will do, they will also do that. But again, like my colleague said, implementation of this budget is also key. For us to see major impact, the budget has to be implemented, at least to that level. Maybe we are getting to May. But at the same time, looking at the political terrain again, because you cannot rule that out. Yes, we agree all the gladiators are market friendly, but we'll still see some little bit of, that is from foreign investors. They will still be looking at us very well. Yes, one leg in, one leg out. But like I would have said, unlike previous elections we have seen, where it's like a do or die. But now we are seeing 3, and it can go anywhere, So yes, there's a bit of stability in that. And of course, the parties that are coming, either of them is market friendly.
Right.
So foreign investors will be looking at, okay, because of course, if you look at the trend this year, okay, that's last year, you see that we even had more of domestic investors in the market.
I think
so
have to.
They are holding their own there. Yeah.
All right, very quickly, Victor, I'd like you to speak to the securitization of the Ways and Means. That wasn't approved by the National Assembly. What are your thoughts? Would it be in the interest of Nigeria if it is approved? Because we see the president talking about, the interest payment amounting to 1.8 trillion naira. And then we also have the Debt Management Office saying that the next administration will inherit 77 trillion naira if the 23 trillion naira loans from the CBN are securitized. Where do you pitch?
Yeah, the ways and the securitization of the Ways and Means is something that has been talked about for a long time. But I think one thing that should be focused on is the fact that by doing this, outside looking at it from the economic, by doing this, I think some laws have been broken. And because you talked about borrowing from the CBN, there are laws that were put in place to guide those borrowing. But we all know that we have gone against those laws. I think a review should be done by the National Assembly. We should have some investigation. It's quite interesting that they have asked for more details with respect to the spending, because most time we have been talking about increased government borrowing, and why the government keeps talking about investing in infrastructure. You and a lot of persons know that some of this money find their way into this huge government recurrent expenditure, and they have not been proper discipline in that area. I think asking for more information is something that is positive. And with respect to trying to look for a way out, at the end of the day, I think both the president and the National Assembly will have to look for a way out. That's because it has not been done in accordance with the law. But they will have to look at what can be done to securitize the Ways and Means, and look at reducing the interest rates that the government have to bear in trying to meet. But it's not something that should be done just with the wave of the hand. And because the increased borrowing we are having is definitely going to have an impact. Because looking at it, you are talking about the 40-year loan, 40-year bond. It has an impact not just in the current generation, it has an impact on the generation yet unborn. So that's why it was expected to be scrutinized. We're expected to scrutinize it before it is approved, because it's not just carrying a burden both for current generation and also for generation unborn. Because on a good day, when you are talking about borrowing from CBN, it's for things that are very urgent, things that will stimulate production, things that will stimulate the economy. But you and I know that a lot of the money, the 22 trillion plus that have been borrowed from CBN, a lot found its way outside things that will stimulate the economy, apart from what the government is telling us.
And I want to ask the question, really, who then are the economic managers? Who were the people that approved these things, since they were not even, they were not even lawful in the first place?
No, actually, if you go back and look at the implementation style of this government and federal government, there's a fault in implementation. And when we are implementing in another direction, it is the work of the National Assembly to oversee. Now they are demanding for this clarity at this time. Are they sleeping before now? No, when I was listening to them, that we want clarity before you can look into me. You should know how your budget is being financed, and at the same time, who is doing who. That is why you just ask who the economic managers. Economic managers are what? The CBN, the SEC, the finance manager, the minister. All of them, these are the economic managers who have. And if they cannot give you details of what has happened. I think the National Assembly is sleeping because it's oversight that you have a
But when you talk about National Assembly, are they really schooled in some of these things?
Before you have a committee on finance, say banking and so on, the people are there as people that have background of not. You don't just pick somebody like to come there. You should people that if you're asking question, for me it's like you are sleeping. But one thing should make clear that look at when it comes to borrowing. Borrowing is for what? It's for expansion. Nigeria have not borrowed to expand. If I said it in this program that look at what happened in Ghana. Ghana is just to be an example for Nigeria. Ghana borrowed, we saw expansion in Ghana. We saw a lot of things change in Ghana. And now they now go to a point that it's on their neck now. But Ghana cannot approach any foreign no institution for anything. As to speak now. As to speak now. Now we have borrowed. What our economy is kind of constructed when we are borrowing. You should ask yourself a question. Who are these economic managers we have? Who are those overseeing who? For me, I think it's a time for us to start asking questions. But the good thing that we're looking at, I said earlier that even today when I was traveling, someone that with me that the political arena we are entering now, we're going to see a proper economic reset for Nigeria if we choose right the next government. Because whoever that is coming, it's not business as usual. It's not business as usual. You need to sit down and put things in proper perspective so that at the end of the day, we'll come out of all this mess. Because I tell you, we are in a deep mess. Like my colleague just said, 40 years, they're trying to kind of for me, it's a joke because what are we doing all this? We are now going to, like he said, to kind of finance, current expenditure. Yes, because all the way we are seeing today, we are paying for all this Sukuga bond. They are servicing with paying the other quarterly coupons you are paying. That means all those roads you're going to pay for it. All money for public is not free. And also another thing is that I don't look at people. Look at what is happening. People are looking at with the other side of the budget that yes, it's going to be borrowing to kind of finance it. And the government will not be sleeping. Even CBN will not be sleeping. If CBN continue to increase rate, government will not be able to borrow because the cost of servicing the debt will also be high. And that is what Ghana is suffering today. Because inflation was going on, interest was going on, that's everything changed in Ghana. If also people are looking at because of government having a lot of kind of what I call it now, deficit in their budget, that means they will not look for bond market. It's good. We're expecting it, but I'm telling you, the government also the CBN are not sleeping. Consider I said in the last 3 what's it called? Treasury bill option. Because it's on a decline. It is a sign that where they are going. Because if you continue to increase your rate and government cannot have access, why the world is shaking today in terms of recession is because most of the mature economy they are in a tight corner to service their loan. Because these are highly people that are borrowing, not who are just coming up. Those that are not to borrow, it's on their neck because to service debt now is a problem. That's why I see that government should. That's why incoming government whoever that come need to get the right people to be in the right place so that you need to sit and ask questions. Are we borrowing to just to buy cars for executive or to buy cars for the legislature? Are we borrowing to kind of bring out production line that will employ Nigerians? Okay. I think these are the things we'll be looking at because at the end of the day, this is Nigeria, it's for us. Others are running to call it Japan. We are not Japan. If we're not Japan, let's put the economy together.
You can't be so sure.
I'm not going.
So let me just okay. Yes, the National Assembly, I agree with him. They didn't do their work very well. However, even the executive should be aware that this ways and means, even the CBN governor.
Exactly. CBN governor.
You need to pay before you get another one. That is what the extant laws are saying. You need to pay what you have taken, and it should not be more than 5% of the previous year's revenue of the government. Has all that been followed before? So if you look at these ways, I mean, it's not just for last year. It has been accumulated.
Exactly.
So again, with due respect, the wise men and we in National Assembly, they are just oversights. It is when these people have done something that they will now begin to look at it. But I believe that the blame should go strictly to the executive, the CBN governor included, because you know the laws. So how would you want to flout those laws in terms of because you want to get money to fund the project? So for me, if I was the CBN governor, with due respect, I would have told Mr. President, these are the extant laws. Before you get another ways and means, the previous ones must have been paid. And I'm not going to give you more than 5% of your previous year's revenue. Because it is the law. It is not written by Emefiele. It is there. So why... And it's there in CBN Act. So why didn't the management of CBN follow that? They continue to do ways and means. And now our president has become a financial engineer. Yes, financial engineering, securitization of a pool of assets, loans. You want to securitize it and create a special purpose.
It's all right. We need to move on now. We need to move on now. But before we get to analysis of the agricultural companies, I want us to talk about the NGX 30 index.